Are you ready for it? It's here. Foundations! Well, hello everyone. I suppose you can see my super cool crown. I want to ask you a question. If you were king for one day, or 2 days, or 3 days, or a whole bunch of days, what would you do? If you could do anything as king, what would you do? Would you get lots of stuff? Would you try to solve the world's problems? What would be something you could do as king? Think about that. Even take a moment and tell your brother or your sister or your mom or your dad. What's something you would do? I'll count to 10. 10! All right, hopefully you came up with something cool. Well, today we're going to talk about a guy who became king when he was 8 years old. How many of you were 8 years old? I don't know, but this is pretty amazing. What's so cool about this guy who became king at 8 years old is it said that he did what was right. He did what was right. Now, the sad thing is that his dad didn't do what was right. His uncle, his grandfather, they weren't pretty good people. They were doing what was wrong. But yet at 8 years old, he knew what to do, what was right, and did it. And then when he was a little bit older, he actually had him clean up and restore the temple. And when they went through the temple, guess what they found? They found God's word, the law. And they didn't even have it before that because somehow it had been lost. And the sad thing is that when he read God's word, he tore his clothes and cried because so many people weren't doing what was right. They changed. So when he was king, the thing that he chose to do was obey God. He wanted to obey God. Do what God says. Follow the rules in the Bible, but those rules include love, which is what we'll talk about in today's sermon as well. Well, I thought, you know what? It would be great to talk about obedience. And there are actually 5 keys to obedience. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you were to go to a door and the door had 5 locks and you unlock one of them, can you go through the door? Nope. How about if you do 4 locks? Can you go through the door? Nope, you can't. You need to unlock all 5. And so I wanted to give you something that you could remember when you think about the keys to obedience. Number 1 is how much of the job should you do? Total. You should do the total job. So like if your mom or dad says, Joel, I want you to take out the trash. And they mean all the trash cans. And you go find one trash can and you say, I took out the trash. Is that being obedient? No, you've got to do the job totally. Say that with me. Totally. Then there's one that involves your attitude. You need to do it cheerfully. This is laundry detergent. It gets things clean and shiny and beautiful again. Well, if your mom or dad, they ask you and they say, okay, time to finish up your game and come eat. And you're like, oh man, I have to finish up my game and come eat? That's not fair. Oh, I ate yesterday. I don't know why I'm hungry though. No, you need to do it with a good attitude. Yay! Have a happy attitude. Then there's another component to obedience that we don't want to forget. But before, we're going to review totally, cheerfully, and how fast should we do it? Should we do it in 10 minutes? Is that obedience? In 5 hours? Is that obedience? In 30 seconds? Is that obedience? Well, typically we need to do it right away. Unless your mom or dad says, hey, sometime this weekend, I want you to mow the lawn. Does that mean you wait until Sunday night at 11:59 if you're allowed to stay up that late? No. You want to do it much sooner. But typically, obedience involves doing it instantly. I don't know if you can read that, but this is instant Jell-O pudding. Now, there are 2 types of puddings that you can buy in a box. One is instant. You put milk in, you put the pudding in, you shake it, and boom, you have pudding. The other kind of pudding, you cook and stir and hope that it doesn't burn on the bottom. Then you put it in something else. Then you put it in the fridge, and then you wait. I don't want to wait. It's the same way with obedience. You've got to obey right away, all the way, completely. Actually, let's review the words that we have. We want to obey totally. We want to obey cheerfully. We want to obey instantly. Now there's another one you've got to watch out for. I mentioned there was 5 keys to obedience, and that is without complaining. I don't know if you can read this top line right there. It says, stops, squeaks. I don't know if you've ever opened a door and the door goes, and you're like, oh, that's an ugly sound. Well, think about it when you obey and you're squeaking. Mom, I don't want to take the laundry upstairs. It's not fair. Cheerfully involves your attitude. Without complaining or without squeaking involves what you say. I don't want to do that. No, that's not obedience. So without complaining, the cool thing is you can go, and then the door goes, and it doesn't make any noise. Pretty cool. Now the last one is really cool, and that is extra. You want to go the extra mile. You're like, now wait a minute. What's the extra mile? How is that obedient? Let me give you an example. So let's pretend little Joel is in his house, and his mom says, little Joel, I want you to clean your room. And I say, okay, Mom, I'm going to do it totally. I'm going to do it with a good attitude, cheerfully. I'm going to do it instantly. I'm going to do it without complaining. Yes. And I'm running it, and I'm doing my room. And all of a sudden, I find my brother's shoe in my room. Mama told me to clean my room. I'm cleaning it. But she didn't tell me what to do with my brother's shoe. So technically, I could take the shoe and I could poke the dog in the nose with it until the dog's like, I'm going to tear that apart. I'm going to tear that apart. I'm going to tear that apart, and say, I was cleaning my room and the dog tore up my brother's shoe. Or if you're a little brother, you could go and knock on your brother's door. And when he opens the door, what do you want? You can throw the shoe right at him. Boom! And then run to your mom before he catches you. And your mom says, what's going on? What's going on? And you say, I was cleaning my room. I was obeying. Yes? No, that's not obeying. We need to go the extra mile. The extra mile would be to take his shoe, knock on his door, say, brother dear, your shoe is here. And then be good to go. So the 5 keys of obedience are totally, cheerfully, instantly, but I said this one first, without squeaking, instantly, and going the extra mile. Well, King Josiah, you'll learn about next, was the king who at 8 years old made a difference, a bigger difference than the adults did. And I believe in you. You too can make it a difference, but it starts with obedience.